Have you ever picked up a book, felt excited, and then after just a few pages you stopped? Maybe you were tired. Maybe life got busy. Maybe your phone buzzed, and you never came back. You told yourself, I'll finish it later. But days passed, then weeks, and that book just sat there, unopened, untouched, slowly gathering dust. I know that feeling. It's frustrating, right? Because deep down you want to read. You want that feeling of getting lost in a good story, of learning something new, of growing quietly, page by page. But somehow, it just doesn't happen. You start thinking, maybe I'm not a reader. Maybe I'm just too distracted. Maybe it's not for me. But let me tell you something that changed everything for me. You're not the problem. Your habits are. Because the truth is, lifelong readers, the ones who read book after book, year after year, they're not superheroes. They're not faster or smarter or more focused. They've just built a few small, simple habits that help them stay connected to books, even on the busiest, messiest days. And you can build those habits too. You don't need to read faster. You don't need to finish a book every week. You just need a better way to bring books into your life bit by bit, without pressure. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 simple habits that real, everyday readers use. Not complicated routines. Not read 50 books a year challenges. Just clear, easy steps you can actually stick with even if you haven't read a book in months. These are the habits that helped me fall back in love with reading. And they've helped thousands of people who thought they'd lost the habit get it back stronger than ever. So whether you're a student trying to focus, a busy parent with zero time, or just someone who wants to read more but never knows where to start, this is for you. Let's build a peaceful, joyful reading life one small habit at a time. But first tell me this in the comments. What's one book you started but never finished? Maybe today's the day you come back to it. Ready to begin? So now that we know you're not the problem, your habits are, let's talk about why these small habits matter so much. Let's be real. Almost everyone says they want to read more. We love the idea of being a reader. We picture quiet mornings with coffee and a good book, or cozy nights where we learn something new or escape into a beautiful story. But then life happens. Work takes over. Family needs you. Your phone keeps buzzing. You're tired. You scroll instead of read. And slowly, books get pushed aside. Not because we don't care, but because we don't know how to fit them in anymore. That's where habits come in. Not big dramatic changes. Just tiny ones, little shifts that help you bring books back into your life in ways that actually work for your real day. Here's why it matters so much. Studies have shown that people who read regularly just a little every day feel less stressed, more focused, and even happier. Reading helps you sleep better. It sharpens your memory. It opens your mind to new ideas, new voices, new ways of thinking. And here's the best part. You don't have to read 100 books a year to feel that. Even reading 10 pages a day, if it's a book that means something to you, can make a huge difference. Because the goal isn't to read fast. The goal is to read meaningfully. So let me ask you something right now. When was the last time a book really spoke to you? When did you read something that made you pause, smile, maybe even cry? Something that made you feel seen? Something that made you feel less alone? That's the kind of reading we're talking about here. Not the pressure, not the guilt, not the you should read more voice in your head. Just quiet, honest, soul-level reading. And that's what these 5 habits will help you bring back. Step by step, page by page. So if you've ever felt disconnected from books or from yourself, stick with me. Because we're not chasing speed, we're chasing connection. Let's bring that feeling back. So if we're trying to bring back that feeling of connection with books, where do we start? Start small. Start simple. Because habit number 1 is the most important one of all. Read a little every day. Now I know what you might be thinking. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'll do it on the weekend. But here's the truth. You don't need an hour to read. You don't need to finish a book in a week. You just need 10 minutes. That's it. I had a friend, full-time job, 2 small kids, a house to run. She was always busy. But she made a decision. 10 minutes before bed. No scrolling, no noise. Just a book and herself. Some nights, she read only a few pages. Other nights she finished whole chapters. But she kept going, day after day. 1 year later, she had finished 40 books. Not because she had more time, but because she made tiny time that added up. And you can do the same. Think about it. If you read 1 chapter a day, that's 30 chapters a month. Even short reading moments add up fast during your tea break, waiting in line, on your commute. You don't need a perfect reading setup. You just need to begin. Try this today. Pick a time that feels easiest. Morning coffee, lunch break, right before bed. Even if you just read 5 pages, it counts. Some days will feel rushed. That's okay. Some days will feel focused and deep. That's even better. But all that matters is this. You showed up. You read. It's like building a muscle. Tiny reps. Every day. So let me ask you, Could you give yourself just 10 quiet minutes a day? Not for work, not for chores, not for anyone else, just for you. To pause, to breathe, to reconnect with a story, a thought, a truth that speaks to you. Because the goal isn't just to read more. It's to feel more alive, more thoughtful, more you one page at a time. And that begins with the quiet power of just a few minutes a day. So once you've made time for reading each day, the next question naturally pops up. What should I read next? And this is where many people, even the ones with good reading habits, get stuck. You finish a book and then spend days or weeks trying to find your next one. You scroll online. You ask friends. You open a book and drop it after 3 pages. It's frustrating, right? That's why habit 2 is a total game changer. Keep a to-read list. Sounds simple, but it's powerful. Think of it like a reading menu. Anytime you see a book recommendation in a video, a podcast, a conversation, or just one that sparks your interest, write it down immediately. I personally keep my list on my phone's notes app. It's always with me. So whenever I hear, oh, this book changed my life, I just type the title in. No pressure to read it right now, but it's there, waiting. And you don't have to be fancy. Some people love writing it in a cute notebook. Others use apps like Notion, Goodreads, or even sticky notes on their mirror. Whatever works for you. Why is this so important? Because having that list ready removes friction. You don't waste time wondering what to read next. And even better, every time you glance at your list, you feel excited, inspired, motivated. You're not guessing anymore. You're choosing. Try this today. Write down just 3 books you've always wanted to read. Maybe they're books friends recommended. Maybe they've been sitting on your shelf for years. Or maybe they popped into your head just now. Start there. And every time you hear a book title that interests you, add it. Even if it takes you months to get to it, that list becomes a gift to your future self. Ask yourself, if you had a personal reading list waiting, how much easier would it be to pick up your next book? You'd never feel stuck. You'd never say, I want to read but don't know what. And over time, you'll look at that list and realize you've built your own reading journey. One book at a time. So now you've built a daily reading habit. And you've got a growing to-read list you can turn to anytime. But here's the next key habit that lifelong readers know. Read different kinds of books. Why? Because even the best readers get bored sometimes. Let me ask you this. Have you ever picked up a book, read a few pages, and thought, this feels the same as the last one? It happens to all of us. When we read the same type of book over and over, like only self-help, or only romance, or only biographies, it starts to feel repetitive. The excitement fades. We lose motivation. But lifelong readers, they keep things fresh by mixing it up. For example, one month I read a mystery novel. Next month, I picked up a short book on meditation. Then I read a funny graphic novel just for fun. And suddenly, my brain felt alive again. Reading became joyful, not just productive. Here's the trick. Balance your reading diet. Just like your body needs different nutrients, your mind craves different stories, lessons, and emotions. Try this. If you usually read fiction, pick a non-fiction book next. If you love biographies, try a short poetry collection. Even a children's book can surprise you with deep meaning. You don't need to finish a giant book either. Start small, a short essay, a novella, a podcast transcript. Even reading a different author can shift your perspective. Here's a personal example. I used to avoid history books. I thought they were too dense. But one day I tried a historical memoir, and I couldn't put it down. It felt like time travel. It gave me goosebumps. That one book opened a whole new category for me. Ask yourself this. What's one type of book you've never tried but secretly wanted to? Maybe it's fantasy. Maybe it's a spiritual book. Maybe you've always wanted to read a book in your mother tongue, or even a translated work from another culture. Let that curiosity lead you. Because every new genre you try makes your reading life richer and your world bigger. So don't box yourself in. Reading is supposed to be fun, surprising, emotional, even weird sometimes. We just talked about how mixing up what you read keeps the experience exciting. But what happens after you finish a great book? You feel inspired, maybe even transformed for a moment. Then a few weeks pass, and you forget most of it. I've been there. That's where habit 4 comes in. Write or talk about what you read. Reading is amazing, but remembering what moved you, that's where the real growth happens. I'll be honest. I used to close a book, feel great, and move on to the next. But weeks later, someone would ask, what was that book about? And I'd freeze. I couldn't explain it even if it changed me. So I tried something simple. After each chapter, I wrote down just one thing. Here's what stood out to me. It could be a quote, a feeling, or even a new idea. And sometimes, instead of writing, I'd just talk about it. I'd message a friend, hey, listen to this line, this hit hard. Or I'd post it in my notes app with a little next to it. And something surprising happened. That idea stuck with me. It became part of my thinking, part of my daily life. Here's a small story. I read a book called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. One line said, "Stillness is not about inactivity, it's about clarity." I wrote it down. Then I talked about it with a friend during a walk. That one line, it reminded me for months to pause before reacting in stressful moments. You don't need to write essays. Just try this. After your next reading session, open your notes app or grab a sticky note and write. One thing I took from this chapter is, or send a voice note to someone you trust. Even one sentence is enough to make the lesson stick. And here's a question for you. What's one book quote that still lives in your head today? Think about that. Because if it stuck, it mattered. Remember, reading isn't just input. It's what you do with what you read that builds wisdom over time. Coming straight from the last habit, writing or talking about what you read, let's take it one step further with habit 5, share books with people. Reading is often seen as a quiet solo activity. And yes, there's peace in that. But sometimes, the real magic happens when you share what you're reading with someone else. I used to read books, finish them, and then move on to the next one. But I noticed something strange. I was forgetting most of what I read. It felt like pouring water into a cup with a tiny hole at the bottom. Some of it stayed, but most just disappeared. Then, something changed. A few friends and I decided to start a very casual book club. Nothing fancy, no rules, no deadlines. We picked short books, read at our own pace, and met once a month over chai or coffee. Sometimes, only 2 of us showed up. But you know what? Those small chats helped me remember more, think deeper, and even discover what I really felt about a book. One time, I shared a quote from a book that had really touched me. A friend said, "Wow, I never saw it that way until you said it." That moment, it stayed with me far longer than the book itself. Books create connection. You don't need to start a full book club. You could just text a friend, "Hey, I'm reading this book. Wanna try it with me?" Or post about your current read on Instagram. You'll be surprised who messages you with, "I love that book," or "I've been wanting to read it too." Even gifting someone a book can start a conversation. One of my closest friendships today began when I gave her a novel I loved. She read it, we talked, and it became something we still laugh about years later. Reading alone feeds your mind, but reading together, that feeds your soul. Try this. Pick a book you're reading now and share it with one person. Could be your sibling, friend, co-worker, even your partner. Say, "Wanna read this together?" No pressure, just fun. Question for you. Who's one person you can share your reading habit with this month? Maybe someone who needs a little joy, or just a new conversation. And if you don't know anyone yet, drop your book in the comments. I promise, someone out there is reading it too. Let's stop treating reading like a lonely race and start treating it like a shared adventure. Because once you start building even one of these habits, something shifts. Reading no longer feels like a chore. It starts to feel like a part of who you are. Let's quickly recap the 5 simple habits that can truly change the way you read. 1. Read a little every day. Even 10 quiet minutes can make a huge difference. It's not about how much you read, but that you show up for it regularly. A few pages a day turn into books before you know it. 2. Keep a to-read list. No more wondering what to read next. Having a go-to list keeps the momentum alive. You're not starting from scratch each time, you're already halfway there. 3. Mix up your genres, don't limit yourself. Fiction, non-fiction, poetry, memoirs, variety keeps your reading fresh and surprising. It also stretches your thinking in unexpected ways. 4. Write or talk about what you read. This helps the ideas stick. Whether it's one sentence in your journal or a text to a friend, reflecting on what you read turns knowledge into wisdom. 5. Share books with others. Reading doesn't have to be lonely. A simple conversation about a chapter or quote can lead to deep connection and make the joy of reading multiply. Each of these habits on their own is small, but together, they transform your reading life. They make you a lifelong reader, not someone who only reads when they're on vacation or when they find time. Instead, you create time for books because they feed your soul. Here's the truth. You don't have to be the fastest reader. You don't need to read 100 books a year. You just need to show up, one page at a time, with intention. So let me ask you one final question. Which of these habits are you going to try this week? You don't have to do all 5 right away. Pick one. Start small. Maybe you'll set a 10-minute reading timer. Or maybe you'll write down 3 books on your list. Whatever you choose, that's your starting line. And if you've fallen out of the habit, don't feel bad. Life gets busy. We all stop and start. But the best readers aren't perfect. They're just the ones who keep coming back. So even if you've put your book down for months, today is a great day to start again. Because your reading habit isn't just about books, it's about who you become while reading them. And as we bring all these habits together, remember, reading isn't a race, it's a journey. A quiet personal path that grows richer with every page you turn. Whether you start with 10 minutes tonight or make your first to read list, what matters is that you begin. So, if this video helped you even a little, hit like to help more people rediscover the joy of reading. Subscribe to Books Ahead for simple book habits, inspiring reads, and tips you'll actually use. Comment below. Which habit are you starting today, and what's the next book on your list? You don't need to read 50 books a year. You just need to keep going one chapter at a time. Let's build a reading life that feels peaceful, steady, and full of stories that change us from the inside out. Here's to the quiet joy of lifelong reading.